Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Lore Sports proudly brings to you the best racing podcast in the world. Now, here's your host, Lauren Leach, the color guy, Mark Allen, the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Loose Lugs Racing Podcast, presented by the Corp Racing and Valley Gasket. Thank you, Tim, Ben, and Carrie, for all that you do for us and everyone that you're involved in. It's truly amazing what you do for the community. Mark, episode 188, man, how are you doing?
Pretty good, man. I was missing out on them 70,000 hot dogs they had to have down at Martinsville, dude. I didn't even have a hot dog this last weekend. Shame, shame, shame.
I didn't either. Yeah, that's a good point there. You know, you and I were talking that Martinsville's got to be on our bucket list to go to, and I agree with you. And you got to have the hot dog the Martinsville way. You know, I'm a plain eater, so I would do just ketchup normally, but you have to have at least the Martinsville way at least once.
Well, if you did a 3-day weekend there, you'd have to have like 3 on Friday night, and you'd have to have you probably have to have 3 on Saturday, you know, and finish it off with 4 on Sunday. So you can get double digits, Look rather impressive, man. When they say they sell 70,000 of them, man, that's just crazy. And that one dude they were showing him, man, he was just whipping hot dogs. And that was his whole weekend job, man.
Yeah, it's quite the thing that they have going down there for sure. And eventually you and I will get to experience that.
There was seats available. It's amazing, to be a playoff race like that, man. There's seats available. You can blame it on the cooler weather, but hey, we're fest, qualified with the weather out there. We sure can handle that down in Martinsville. So, yeah, let's put that one on the bucket list, man.
No doubt. Yep, absolutely. Well, man, let's dive right into it. Let's talk about some NASCAR racing since we got a couple of weeks about that. Then we'll come back and talk about kind of some short track stuff and news and all of that. So, all right. So actually, I'm going to start with a little bit of F1 before we get into NASCAR. I take that back. So F1 had a couple of races. The 2 weeks ago was at COTA, so it was in the USA here. So Verstappen won that one over Norris and Leclerc. Verstappen had a great weekend with the win and the sprint win. Then they went to Mexico this past weekend. Norris won over Leclerc and Verstappen. The points have tightened dramatically. Norris has taken the lead over his teammate Piastri by 1. It's 357 to 356. Verstappen at 321. There's 4 races remaining. Brazil, then they come to Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. It ends up going into early December here. So, man, that's the points. I tell you what, Verstappen hasn't had his normal season, but he is only 36 back. You can get 25 a race. So if something happens to the front guys here, he's right in it. So something to watch coming down here near the end of the year for Formula One.
4 races left. Anything can happen there, man. Wow, they have such a long season, man. It's longer than what we got around here.
Yeah, not as many races because they do like a summer break and have weeks off in between, but they go a long time, that's for sure. All right, let's dive into NASCAR then. Let's talk about Talladega first. We'll briefly touch on some of this since that was a couple of weeks ago as well. Trucks at Talladega. Early on, the big story was, Enfinger spun while getting pushed from Chandler Smith. Majeski would get a piece of that. Fenhouse would go through the grass. Garcia, Tanner Gray, Hemrick also involved in that way. Riggs also spun a little while later after getting pushed from Chandler Smith. So Chandler Smith kind of having some pushing a little bit too hard too early maybe, or maybe not lining up correctly or something happening there because a couple of trucks on the front of his machine end up going around. Mozak and Perez and also involved in that one, but Kruth would win stage 1. Stage 2, Riggs was dealing with some damage there. He had the front tire go down, stacked up the inside line where Holmes would spin after contact and hit the wall. Ruggiero would win stage 2. Hemrick would have a tire to go down and have to pit late. Breidinger would get in the back of him as well and get some damage. And then another big story here, Mark, near the end of the race was Norm Benning started on fire, and that was a serious deal there.
That was a hot fire, man. And, you just can't stop on a dime. You're going 100 miles an hour, and they were showing the flames were coming right up through the shifter boot. And, yeah, he got out and he was laying on the ground, and hey, he's up there in age. What is he, like 73 years old? And breathing that smoke stuff, So, man, that's fortunate that he ended up okay out of there. But that was a hot fire. You don't see that very often anymore.
Yeah, no, not too much. Rhodes and Fenhouse, they were leading. Unfortunately, Rhodes would spin with 2 to go, and Fenhouse would as well. Fenhouse was a great pusher to that point. It would go into overtime here, where Ruggiero would pick up his first win over Heim. Majeski came back to finish 3rd. That was impressive with the damage. Sutton was 4th. Riggs was 5th. Another good rebound for him as well. Ankrum, Kraft, and LaJoie, Kruth, Honeycutt, the rest of the top 10 there.
Yeah, it was rigged with Heim. Makes you wonder if he really would have gave Ruggiero a run for his money. But he was staying there with his partner and got him his first victory. Yeah, Majeski had that hole in the left headlight cover there, and all of a sudden that patch was coming off, looked like a flag flapping in the wind and everything like that. Yeah, and then Riggs, he kept cutting tires down, man, early in the race, and he got lucky and fortunate to get a top 5 there. So Talladega, man, it's always a tough one out there, especially if it's in a playoff format.
Yeah, it is. Rhodes would get the fastest lap there, 49.783 seconds, which equals 192.355 miles per hour. The Xfinity Series then race at Talladega. They stacked up early on the inside a little when Creed got loose. Jeb Burton was behind him. He went up the track and made contact with Jones, and the big one was on there. Creed, Jones, Ryan Sieg, Harrison Burton, Jeb Burton, Queen, Kyle Sieg, Anderson, Mayer, Alfredo, Clements, Ellis, all involved. They would have to fix the wall, so a red flag would come out. That was a big hit for Creed and Ryan Sieg there.
Yeah, that was right there in the trioval there, man. They scrambled the ball after there. So, yeah, we always know Talladega will put out a pile up, and that's where it was right there for the Xfinity.
Hill would win the stage there, stage 1, I should say. And then in stage 2, Honeyman moved up a little bit, but Mozak was there. Honeyman would spin and collect Zilich, Sawalich, and Thompson. Very hard hit for Sawalich. He would end up being transferred to a local hospital. Another red flag. When they got back going under caution, Eckes fuel can would break and leak fluid all over as well.
Yeah, that's the wallet shit. We never saw it. They never showed the replay of it. But yeah, he's even going to miss Phoenix this week, man. So he's still took a hard hit there, man. So he's done for the season. So get himself ready back to going together for 2026.
I did actually see a replay where they showed it, and it was a big one there. Hopefully he can get back on the mend and be back ready for next year. But he is going to miss Phoenix, like you said, unfortunately.
That was on the inside, wasn't it? He hit the inside wall?
I think it was the outside wall. He kind of got collected up there and had nowhere to go, unfortunately.
Yeah, so there were some hard hits, man. At Talladega, man, you're flying and then get all scrambled up like that, man. Like I say, I'm glad we don't do that every week.
Yeah, you and I have said that same thing. Like it's okay once in a while, but man, if you would do that every week, yikes.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so hopefully Sawalich gets going again. He has concussion-like symptoms. That's kept him out the last 2 weeks. Taylor Gray would also have an issue and be done for the race, but Hill would win stage 2. Zilich had some damage and had a tire go down and would have to pit. And then they go 3 wide and make contact. Almirola and Dye with huge hits as well. Cars start running out of fuel like Sammy Smith. That causes others to pit under this caution. There was kind of some chaos going on there. You wondered if some would make it or not there. Hill, the leader, and some others did not pit there as it went into overtime. And Hill had just enough fuel to get over the line first. He would win at Talladega. over Quapple, Allgaier, Eckes, Baccarella, Perkins, Retzloff, Honeyman, Sammy Smith, and Love.
Isn't that something? How Austin Hill just has that covered. He just keeps right. What is that? His 10th victory on. He's breaking records, with his victories on super speedways like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you think he might be the greatest of all time in the Xfinity series for? What would you? I guess you'd call them super speedways now. I almost said plate tracks, but super speedways.
I don't know. You still got to give it to the Earnhardts, man. But that's part of Childress, man, and it just kind of keeps it going through that camp. So yeah, they've got something figured out. Jesse Love, he does really well with that too. So yeah, they've got that covered on the super speedways.
Yeah, for sure. Fastest lap would go to Williams, 50.063 seconds or 191.279 miles per hour. Cup Series then, there were some pit road penalties early. Then Jones was pushing Gregson, but Gregson would spin, collected Stenhouse, Elliott, Elmendinger, Haley, Austin Dillon, and Cindric. Gibbs would end up winning the stage a little while later. Herbst and Alfredo would end up making some contact, and Alfredo would pit backwards in his box there.
Yeah, we saw him spin around like that, but hey, he was still in the box, so you can you could pit him that way. Just it's like being at the road course, everything's backwards.
Yeah. In stage 2, there was a very close call for the lead between Alfredo and McDowell. Very, very close. I thought that was going to be big, but then SVG would spin coming to pit road. Amazingly, nobody got collected there. He got stuck in the grass. Caution did come out eventually for that. And then this was a very interesting part here on pit road. Ty Dillon would hit a tire in Barry's box while there's a crew member underneath the car. Very scary incident, especially with someone underneath the car like that and a tire jamming up underneath you. That is 2 weeks in a row there that Ty Dillon had something go wrong where you question it big time. The pitting and Byron getting into him at Las Vegas. Then you had the Talladega incident on pit road here. The 10 crew kind of needed to reel it back in here.
Yeah, so scary stuff, man. Those guys are warriors, Hey, going back to that SVG, there was water in the seams, and he even said, that felt like I hit water. And when you look right at that, it's just like, we talk safety and stuff like that. I thought that was just amazing of the amount of water that was there. And, and it's right in the middle, right when they're coming in. And that's a head scratcher, man, to see that much water sitting there. And it's amazing that more people didn't lose it coming in.
Yeah, NASCAR was asked about it. I forget who was talking about it on Sirius XM, and they said that they were doing all they could to get that dried up under the cautions there and all they could, but they said if you apply too much heat, you end up seeping water back up from the ground. So they said they couldn't really do that. So they were trying to take care of that, but something to look at for the future, they said.
Yeah, for sure. That was weird, man. He was sliding right behind, and what did he do? Run into the back of the 20 car and everything like that, and then he got stuck in the grass, and then that just kind of absolutely ruined his day after that.
Yeah. Briscoe would win the stage. Then after that, Ware would spin on the apron. Buescher would get a push and spin while leading. He would hammer the inside wall, and the race would go into overtime.
Yeah, good old overtime. We like that stuff, don't we? We get a lot of that.
Yeah. Larson would run out of fuel on the backstretch. Byron would spin in the tri-oval, but it would be Briscoe winning and clinching his spot to the Final Four. Briscoe, Gilliland, Gibbs, Wallace, Custer, Hocevar, Reddick, Bell, Smith, and Keselowski, the top 10 there. Bell had the fastest lap, 49.235 seconds or 194.496 miles per hour.
So yeah, it's amazing nobody piled into Larson, running out of gas. And then, Byron spins and loses 24 positions right there on the tri-oval. So it was a bad lap for Hendrick, but it definitely made Byron, he definitely, with the whole playoffs, the way he's had his luck, it became a must win at Martinsville.
Yeah, yep, it did. The truck series then at Martinsville, Crafton and Perez would make some contact early. Mozak would make it 3 wide. Some more contact was made. Eventually, Perez would wreck out of that whole deal. And then Riggs would miss a shift as the leader. May have a transmission issue, you thought there for a second, but it's ended up being okay. Benning would almost spin after contact from Queen. The caution did come up for that, but what a save there.
But that really, when Riggs missed that and everybody had front end damage, I mean, it really it nailed Hemrick. It ruined his total day. And there was some others that were affected by that missed shift or what was going on with Riggs there.
Yeah, that affected some there for sure. Heim got by Ty late to win the stage. Then in stage 2, Honeycutt and Kruth would make some contact off the corner. Kruth would spin in the next corner with a flat tire, and he would get into the wall. Heim would win stage 2.
That looked like the same thing at Martinsville, the same corner when Honeycutt came around the corner and the tailpipe on the side made contact with the tire, and that happened to Heim last time, and Caruth got it this time, and he knew there was something going on with that, and then when he went into the corner, did a 360 and really slammed the front end, and that was the end of Caruth's year right there, man.
Yep, he would be another playoff driver that would get knocked out there during the race. Later on, LaJoy and Breininger would make contact. Breininger would wreck. Ty started experiencing some brake problems, which was interesting because he was only 5 points to the good at that point.
Earlier in the race, his left front rotor was just glowing, more than anybody else. Just like, hey, I hope he doesn't have a brake issue. And then, all of a sudden it got kind of spongy there for him. But the cautions fell just right for him. So he got his chance to get his brakes cooled off. I think that would have totally stayed green. He might have had even more problems with his brakes.
Yeah, I think so too. Hemrick would pull off due to the damage earlier. He was losing too much water and would be done. Curry also pulled off, smoking heavily there. And then just after that, Ruggiero and Mozak would make some contact, and Mozak would wreck.
Yeah, every once in a while we see the Mozak and how he works like that. So it was unfortunate for him, and he had some major damage out of that.
Riggs and Majeski make some contact. Majeski would get into the wall but keeps going. Jones spins after being 3 wide with Majeski. Then it would go into overtime. The cut line was close. Ty had lost some positions there. I think he was even or out at one point there. So among others, Riggs was right there. Honeycutt was right there. Ty was right there. A bunch of them stacked up there. But it would be Heim winning the race. Honeycutt would finish second, Riggs third, Cruz, LaJoy, Chandler, Majeski, Tanner Gray, Ankrum, and Queen. Heim advanced to the Final Four with wins there. Majeski also advanced. He picked up a few spots there on that restart. Ankrum also advanced, and Honeycutt tied with Riggs, and Honeycutt had the best finish in the round, being second here at Martinsville. So Honeycutt got the edge. That means Riggs, Enfinger, Caruth, and Hemrick all eliminated.
Yeah, Riggs thought he had it covered, man, until after he got a past start finish line, and they told him, "Oh, nope, sorry, you lost the tiebreaker," and he was brokenhearted after that. So yeah, isn't that something? Honeyman or 52
Honeycutt.
Honeycutt, how he started the season, with the 45 and Nice, and he's fallen into the 52, and guess what? He's finding his way into the championship round, and we'll see what he can do there, man.
He is a good talent. Excited to see what the future holds for him. The kind of the worst secret in the garage right now is he's gonna be with Tricon next year. Which is going to be interesting, and we'll talk about Tricon in a little bit because there's been a few things announced with them, so you wonder who's going to be the odd person out, or will they do 5 trucks? But Honeycutt, a good talent. We had him on last year. He falls into a little bit of a better ride than what Nice was with. He would have made the playoffs with Nice. I'm not sure if Nice's program is just up to the level that Friesen's is yet. So, man, Honeycutt's got a real shot at this thing, and he's a short track guy. And I know Phoenix isn't necessarily a short track, but it races like one, and that could bode well for him as well.
Yeah, we'll see how that works, and hey, don't count on Ankrum either. All of a sudden he's just been hanging around being a consistent kind of dude there. So he fell into that. But hey, they all these were by 1 point, or there was tiebreakers there. So that's how tight it was in the Truck Series. With Heim winning 11 races and he got 7 poles and everything, you would think that he's definitely the favorite. But we saw what Majeski did last year. He had it hooked up and he was off to off to the races, as you would say. And we'll see if they can get that truck hooked up like that. And it's the only out of all 3 series, it's the only last Ford. That's why we are talking Ford trucks here, because that's all that's left for Ford in all 3 series. So we're hanging on by a thread, hoping that Majeski can pull a Ford through here.
Yeah, the Final Four is interesting in all the series here. Heim has had a great season and deserves the championship, but when it comes down to one race like this, and there's talk about them changing the playoff format for next year, I think that could really go into motion if Heim, and you talk about the Xfinity Series with Zilich too, the season that Zilich has had. If them two don't win it, it could be interesting how that could speed up. But and Kevin Harvick's even talked about that on his podcast, saying it would be embarrassing if Heim and Zilich didn't win it. And I don't want to go that far, because everyone knows the rules when you go into it. It's been this way for many years now, but sure would be interesting to see how fast that gets into motion if something like that happens.
Yeah, so that's where this one race championship comes into view here. So, like it or not, everybody plays by the same rules like that. There's heavy rumors that they're going to change the formats next year, but it is what it is this year. We know what the rules are, and it's all on this weekend for the championships.
Yep. Fastest lap went to Riggs, 20.002 seconds, which equals 94.671 miles per hour. The Xfinity Series then at Martinsville, early on, Sanchez and Snyder would make some contact. Snyder would spin. Mozak would also go around a little while later. And then Allgaier would get by Mayer late to win the stage. Mayer had some trouble there, but saved it, but he lost a ton of positions after Allgaier got by him. Kvapil and Sammy did not have great stages there, and that would be a factor in the later as we got later in the race.
Yep, they needed the points, man. They to try to make that work.
Jeb Burton had an interesting day. He would spin with a flat tire. Kvapil would end up winning the stage by staying out.
Imagine that. So, yeah, it worked out with a good strategy there for second stage.
Poole would get into Queen, who got into Williams. They would spin. Zilich and Day also get a piece of that. Retzloff goes around after contact with Alfredo with 31 to go. Then Kvapil would go around with 23 to go. Ryan Sieg and Harrison Burton made contact behind that caused it. It was one of those stack-up deals again. Kvapil was in at that point pretty solidly, so this would be an interesting thing coming to the finish here.
Yeah, so and just seeing how Kvapil and he was fighting, for tooth and nail, it's all tight right there to the end, man. It was, can't miss finish here. You had to keep an eye on it.
Daniel Dye had a tire go down with 5 to go. It would go into overtime, but it would be Taylor Gray winning the race over Sammy Smith, Jones, Creed, Almirola, Jeb Burton, Mayer, Thompson, Zilich, Bonsignor, the rest of the top 10 there. I tell you what, great redemption for Taylor Gray. If you remember in the spring, him and Sammy Smith got into it at the end of the race. Sammy kind of trucked into him there and made Taylor Gray go around, and then Sammy didn't win the race either. And I tell you what, the other thing is great maturity from Sammy Smith. You can tell that he's matured and he's took those talks to heart from the spring, because he could have moved Taylor Gray. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He could have moved him, and he didn't want to go there. So some cool moments for those two. Taylor Gray picking up that first win, well deserved. So that was a pretty cool moment for him.
Yeah, well, he deserves it, man. He's been through it, the ringer here. Yeah, Sammy, I'm sure. Yeah, he learned from that experience back in the spring, and so that's how you mature, man. You learn from your mistakes and you move on. So, yep, good job all the way around there.
Yeah, the other thing we should talk about before moving on. First off, Elgire got the fastest lap, 20.390 seconds, which equals 92.869 miles per hour. Zilich, Elgire, we knew they were going to be in the point situation they were in. Love made it on points, and Quapple made up enough positions at the end of the race where he advanced. That would put Sammy Smith, Jones, Mayer, and Creed out. But the big thing that I was talking about was Mayer and Jeb Burton had some issues during the race, and it continued after the race. And it has been announced that NASCAR is suspending Sam Mayer for the season finale at Phoenix for intentionally wrecking Jeb Burton after the Xfinity race at Martinsville. It's also been announced that Ryan Sieg will move into the 41 car this weekend at Phoenix, and Kyle Sieg will take over the 39.
So yeah, but Sam Mayer, he went on the radio program and kind of spouted off, and then realized, gee, maybe I said too much here. Guess what? NASCAR is not going to tolerate that, using his cars as weapon when the race was totally over. There will not be no Christmas cards sent to either of them. That's just not going to happen. There was some really interesting comments back and forth to each other. It's entertaining as a fan, but we could definitely see how this can actually roll over, and maybe we'll see some more of this next year. You never know.
Yeah, interesting moments there. You don't like to see, wrecked race cars and using your car as a weapon. As a fan, I know you and I don't like that, but there's frustration and emotions in the sport, which is why we love it. So hopefully Sam Mayer can learn from it too. Hopefully him and Jeb can come to an agreement, or just agree to disagree. I guess that would be an agreement too. But hopefully they can put it aside, and we can have a good season next year with the both of them.
But they will always remember, and you never know. You never know at Martinsville, man. That's all you got to do is light the spark, and there it goes. So
Yeah.
we'll see. That's how you don't want to make enemies, man, because when it gets tough, it can come back to get you.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and Sam Mayer, not the first tussle he's been in at Martinsville. Remember a few years ago in the Xfinity Series with Ty Gibbs as well after the race. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, moving on to the Cup Series at Martinsville then. Wallace and Suarez would make contact. Suarez would spin. Zane Smith would get a piece of it. Byron would dominate stage one.
Yeah, Suarez was kind of every time that we saw him, it was for the wrong reason all day. And so was seemed like Bubba Wallace was quite a bit involved with that through the day also. So yeah, there's that's what brings out Martinsville. Kind of reminds you, like, one guy hits the next guy that hits the next guy, and the guy on the outside doesn't have a clue and ends up getting taken out.
Yeah. Hocevar would go around, maybe some contact from Suarez there. Custer would also go around a little while later. They were stacked up, and some more contact happened there. Ware would lose a wheel and spin, so you knew that wasn't going to be good. And Byron would sweep the stages and win the second one as well.
Man, he was hooked up, man. He led every lap right up to then, except 5 laps. So yeah, William Byron, they definitely emphasized on this race, and it definitely showed.
It did. Barry would spin. Briscoe would pit with an engine issue 40 laps later. Then Hamlin would blow up as well. Herbst also had an engine issue, so within a span of 30 to 40 laps, 3 Toyotas blew up there.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they were just kind of ramping these engines up a little bit to see if they could take it for Phoenix. And I understand that they're going to change parts, and hopefully they don't have that gremlin this weekend in Phoenix.
Yeah, so they kind of said that they knew what the issue was, and none of those parts made it into the engines for Phoenix here, so it shouldn't be a concern going forward. Jones, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead with the Jones one, because I've got a comment about this.
Sure. Jones would spin, which was during pit stops. Go ahead, buddy.
And then they sit there and then they hold the flag as he's sitting there against the wall. And NASCAR just convenient, they don't want to throw the caution right then because it's in the pit cycle, but it is what it is. But NASCAR held the flag, and you probably heard me all the way over to Menasha, like, and when I yelled, "Come on," let's be consistent about this. Just because it's an inconvenience because it's during the pit cycle, that's just not right. So what? It is what it is, and just let the cards fall where they may. But they sat there and they held that flag, and just like that got me. Yeah, that lit my fuse on that one.
No, they did hold the flag there, which you're right. It is what it is. You don't want it to happen during that part, and it seems like we're talking about it all the time here on it, that the caution falls at the wrong time in the middle of green flag stops. But it is what it is. What do you do?
And there's other times when they got a trigger finger where they just got the finger on the button and they push it. There was some incidents where that first one when Suarez, he goes sideways, but he ended up getting corrected up, and he ended up going also. They threw a flag, and they're just like, why did you throw the flag for that? There's no parts or pieces. Nobody spun out. He just was a hefty fender bender, but and they were so fast on the trigger finger to push that button, but then later in the race, and just because it was at an inconvenient time that they held the flag, and that's where the inconsistency comes up. And I noticed that, and I don't like it apparently.
Hey, that's for us to talk about that and to be honest, right? So
it's not
no,
right.
I agree. Yep. Hocevar would go around again. He slowed on the front stretch, and then Suarez tried to get by him, but Hocevar would end up get going, and they would make some contact in the corner. Hocevar would then spin a little while later after contact with teammate Michael McDowell. Boy, I tell you what, the Spire boys kind of all came together because Suarez will be Spire next year, so there might have to be some a kumbaya before the season gets going here in February.
yeah, we'll have to have some sleepovers or something like that so we get everything
Yeah.
straightened out, right?
Yeah. How about this? Byron would win the race over Blaney, Elliott, Chastain, Larson, Priest, Bell, Logano, Gilliland, and Barry, and lock himself into the championship four. We just talked about it. He was in a must-win situation and got it done. So it's Byron, Briscoe, Hamlin with wins that all advance. Larson's in on points. Bell is the first one out. Logano, Blaney, Elliott also eliminated.
Isn't that something how they were telling Byron, wait till Blaney gets to the lap cars, I need some rear tire, and he was being coached, all along. And then all of a sudden, once when they became up to the lap traffic, well, then finally Byron was there. And it was a typical bump and run. But, yeah, the 24, Byron had him. Yeah, it would have been interesting if it would have kept going and Blaney would have got back to him. Not sure. But then the caution came out and that changed everything at the end.
Yeah, and Blaney had no issue with a little contact that they made there. He said he would have raced him the same way, especially considering the circumstances there. And, the thing for Byron, you think about, was it the last 2 years where he just fell off like a rock at Martinsville in the fall race the last 2 years? I remember I had some faith in him last year. I picked him last year between you and I, excuse me, and he just fell off there. So for them to come back and be this dominant, that says something about Hendrick Motorsports and the 24.
Yeah. But Hendrick's always had figured out Martinsville. Elliott with third, and Larson with a top five. Bowman wasn't around, but they always got that figured out. Byron led 304 laps in the race, and man, he was hooked up for this one, and he was quite happy afterwards, man. So we'll see what he can do this weekend at Phoenix.
Yeah. Byron had the fast lap, 19.750 seconds, which equals 95.878 miles per hour there. Phoenix is up next, but first let's talk a little bit about news here. We'll start on kind of the short track scene here, Mark. Shawano Speedway, which is here in Wisconsin, sounds like there's a good chance that it could go from being a half mile to a 3/8 mile. Plans are in motion. It needs to be approved and go to the board for votes and all that, but things are in motion for it to maybe become a 3/8 mile.
I saw that on there. People sent me, and I was going to make a comment, but that would be irrelevant for me to say anything. I'll tell you what, I grew up at that racetrack, and and probably, growing up, that was my favorite track back in the day. There was no better races on Saturday nights back then in the 70s. Times change. If this is what it takes to keep the facility going, I hope they take a template from some other racetrack, like maybe Beaver Dam or Cedar Lake, or I'm hearing Davenport's got a good program down in Iowa, or even Boone, and get this right the first time, where you can actually try to have some national series that can actually be involved along with the Dirt Kings, and the sprint cars and everything. So I hope they do it right, man. I hate to see the half mile go. It's the last one around here, but if it keeps the facility going, so be it. So, if they do it and they do it right, man, I'll go up there and I'll support it still to this day. Got to keep the place going.
So I'm going to preface with this and saying I'm guilty as most. I hate to see any racetrack go away, whether it be dirt, asphalt, whatever it is. I do not get to as many dirt tracks as I probably should or would like to. I didn't grow up on the dirt track scene. It was asphalt here at WIR with my uncle and cousin racing. So I grew up on the asphalt side, so I just haven't gotten to dirt. I like dirt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I like dirt. But I'm guilty of not going to Shawano as much as I probably should or can. It's hard to get when with us doing all this and family and Thursday night. It's hard to get away sometimes to go to somewhere like that or any track on Saturday. But in my mind, I'm just saying it's the only half mile left, and everything's gone down to, a lot of them are third miles. I don't know about 3/8, but when you see the diagram, that's cutting off a big chunk of track. So as a fan, I don't like hearing that so much. But again, I don't know that I can say much because I haven't been there to support every week like some. I've been there multiple times. It's a fantastic facility. Having said that, I think to be able to be around for a very long time, I think you have to shorten the track. And that's why it's being discussed. And I like 3/8 better than a third. I guess there's probably not too much of a difference. But I don't know. I'm split on it. I understand that for business and things to attract more fans, to attract more drivers and teams to come up there, you probably have to do something. But as a fan, just hearing it, I would think being different and being that 1/2 mile, that's, in the state for sure, or at least anywhere near us. I don't like to hear that, but again, I understand it, and it'll be interesting. But you're right, though. I hope they get some feedback. I hope they get it right the first time there, because that track has so much history, and it is such a great facility that it needs to be around for a very long time.
Well, that town understands how much that helps the economy up there. It's always been that way, you know. Pretty smart town to have a racetrack, and they've tried to be a nice neighbor. They start up at 6 o'clock and try to get done by 10 o'clock. So they're trying to be a nice neighbor up there. Yeah, just like I would always say, I always want that half mile, and I always want it there. But times have changed, and you hear drivers and teams and saying how hard it is, on the equipment, and you're going at a high speed, and if something goes wrong, you're going to end up with more damage out of there. The car count, has been dwindling, especially on the late model side of it. Boy, I tell you what, if they can make contact, with National Series, and get recommendations of how they can get this to work, where they can actually get Shawano back on the map, where these drivers and series will come back to there. And, it's always been well supported up there, man. They've always done that very well. So might take a little bit to get the car count back and everything like that. But you know what? If it's like I say, if it's gonna keep the place going, man, then so be it. Let's just hope they get it right the first time.
Agreed. Yep. And the other thing is, it could still be a half mile for 2026. Even if this goes through, it could be a thing that happens for 2027. So that's a thing to keep in mind there. But follow Shawano Speedway for updates on that. and where you can maybe voice your opinion. I know they're asking for a lot of opinions, and you brought up National Series. I think a lot of things are saying if it goes to 3/8, there's a greater chance that they do get those National Series back. So go out there, voice your opinion, and see what you can do to be heard on that, because they're very open to things up there, which is
Well,
great.
heck, on November 6th, they're having a meeting at, I think, the courthouse, November 6th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so if you want to go up there and find out exactly what's going on, you can go in and sit in on that, and probably be rather interesting. And, the passion runs high up there, man. And a lot of people care about that place. And it's been around for a long time. There's so much history that's been there. And still my favorite dirt track, man. And if it goes down to a shorter track, I'm for it, man. I hate to see it, but change is inevitable to keep the place going.
Yeah. Just be sure to wear your goggles in the 26th row and have some fun.
Yeah, don't get no dust in the eye there, buddy.
That's an inside joke from Mark and I, of course. But
yes, sir.
moving on to some Formula One news here. Apple TV has signed a 5-year deal with Formula One for its exclusive media rights in the U.S. This is from Joe Pompliano on X, so go follow him. He does a great job at reporting some things. So these are the things that you need to know according to Joe. Is number one, Apple TV is replacing ESPN as F1's exclusive broadcast partner in the United States. ESPN was most recently paying $90 million annually, with reports indicated that Apple TV will now pay $140 million per year, which is a 55% increase. Formula One's U.S. rights have skyrocketed over the last 7 years. F1 initially let ESPN broadcast its races for free in 2018. That turned into a $5 million deal, then 75, then 90, and now to 140 million annually. F1 TV will continue to be available in the US. You will need an Apple TV account to access F1 TV, but if you're already subscribed to both services, you will actually save money because your Apple TV subscription will now work for both. Apple TV will broadcast all sessions, practice, qualifying, sprint races, etc. for every Grand Prix weekend. Apple is still determining who will be on the broadcast and production team there. The production on Apple TV should be extremely high quality, as Apple doesn't typically compress its video as much as others. All F1 content on Apple TV will be available in both English and Spanish, taking advantage of the roughly 42 million people who speak Spanish in the United States. Formula One is hoping that Apple's large customer base in the United States will offset the audience loss that traditionally comes with switching from cable to streaming. Just reading along here. They have the F1 movie out. It was an Apple original. So this move makes a lot of sense in that way. So that's all I'm going to say about it. So now Apple TV will have F1 starting in 2026.
F1 shied away from America for the longest time. No drivers were involved, nothing like that. And now they're slowly trying to get back into America, and that's a good move right there. And I think once they get themselves set and everything, they're going to be able to compete in this country and be popular, and it's going to be supported. So it's baby steps to get back into the United States. And they've been back for a couple races here and there, and we'll see where it leads, but I think that's all pointed in the right direction for him.
And I tell you what, the thing that made F1 explode here over the last few years is the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. I know I talked about it with you, Mark. I've talked about it on here. An tremendous series that Netflix currently has. Maybe that switches to Apple TV with these rights now. I'm not exactly sure. That would kind of be a bummer for us that don't have Apple TV, and with it being such a great series. But that is certainly a series to check out there. You get to see a lot of the behind the scenes, a lot of the drama that happens, a lot of the strategy and things that go around with Formula One. So go check that out on Netflix. In fact, I just binge watched the last season. I am way late on this because I think it came out in the spring, probably March. I just been watched the last season to kind of catch up, and another phenomenal job by Netflix and F1. So we'll see what happens with that, but go check the Drive to Survive. Oh, that's a great series.
All right, man. Yep, we'll see where that goes.
Colton Herta was officially announced as an F2 driver, so I know that's been a badly kept secret as well. So now that was announced.
Yeah, bad secret. Yeah, we all heard about that one before it came out. Pretty much figured that one out.
Some other open wheel news. Brad Sweet announced at the High Limit Racing banquet that he is retiring from full-time sprint car competition. What a legend in the sport. I think the key words there is full-time. I think he'll still maybe run the big name events here.
Yeah, like Knoxville and stuff like that. Casey Kane put a statement out on it like this, and they'll still be relevant and still be moving on. But yeah, that was just out of the clear blue sky that he just like hang it up. But he's been doing it a long time, man. So just going to probably lessen his schedule, but he'll still hit the big races yet.
Yeah, and they did announce who's going to be in that 49 machine for filling in for Brad Sweet. I'm gonna find that here in just a moment. But it's going to be Dacelin Pursley that is going to be going to Casey Kane Racing. So if that name sounds familiar, it should. He had a tremendous run in the Chili Bowl this last year.
Okay, so yeah, there's silly season happening on that side of the fence over there.
Mm-hmm. And then some other IndyCar news. There was a sponsor extension for the IndyCar race at Road America for multiple years. It'll still be known as the Expel Grand Prix. So that's pretty cool that Road America will know their sponsor for the next upcoming years here.
Good. We know they're coming back, man, and we're going to try to support that as they keep coming back annually back to Road America.
No doubt. Some Truck Series news. Jeff Stankiewicz is going to Tricon Garage. He was with Grant Enfinger for a while. He is a knowledgeable guy in the sport, so he's going over to Tricon.
Tricon seems to be the way to go, ain't it, huh?
Yeah.
It seems like that's the one that's stepping up right now.
Landon Lewis will drive a part-time truck schedule next year at Nice Motorsports. Landon Lewis is a champion in the Cars Tour, so a very talented guy. He's been hooked up with Kevin Harvick for a while, so he's going to drive part-time for Nice Motorsports.
Why not? So, yep, get in there and get some experience.
Tricon has also announced that it extended its contract with Toyota, so they'll be Toyota for years to come here. Colleague has announced that Daniel Dye and Justin Haley will be full-time in the Truck Series next year.
And they'll be teammate with Brendan Queen. And then the big head scratcher is where's Eckes going to go? And so don't know if he's the odd man out or if they're going to. So that's where that lays right at this time. So yeah. Colleague won 2 championships, and with Allmendinger and 27 wins. And I don't believe it's going to completely go away. It's just going to be put on a shelf for a little bit so that they get this Ram deal going for the Truck Series. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's big moves for with Colleague. I think if they stayed involved with Xfinity, that'd probably be way too much for them. So try to get the Ram truck working in the Truck Series.
Yeah, Chris Rice said that they're going to put a pause on the Xfinity Series. My assumption is that it'll be a year until Dodge or another banner make comes in under that. So you have Ram, you have Dodge. There's a couple of under that Stellaris brand there, so it might not be Dodge. Everyone assumes a Dodge, but I'm not assuming just yet. It probably will be, but just in case they don't go that route. So I assume it'll just be a year off before they can come in, maybe 2. But Colleague did put a nice post out there and said thank you to Xfinity Series for 10 amazing years, 27 wins, 2 regular season championships, and a lifetime of memories as they put this on pause. So also Xfinity is going no longer going to be the Xfinity Series next year too, so it kind of went hand in hand there.
Yeah. So all right, we'll see that. They're probably gonna put it on the shelf, and then we'll see where they go further down the line there.
Lane Riggs has signed a multi-year extension with Front Row Motorsports as well. I think that just came out a little while ago.
Tell you what, that's a dude that's probably going to be a favorite to possibly go all the way, man. he improved so much from this year, from the year before, and I'm only looking for better things out of him. So, yeah, I could definitely could be a champion contender next year.
Well, I was thinking about this as all this was being made about. You and I both had higher hopes for Chandler Smith. He's going to be back. Lane Riggs. It's talked about maybe Heim's back, but even if he's not, you got Ty Majeski. He could be a 1 or 2-time champion by the time next season starts here. You got Daniel Dye and Justin Haley now there as well. And that's just naming a few. Also, you start to look at the truck series, and that's starting to be pretty stacked.
Last year the truck news didn't come out till after the new year. Last year, remember that? And it was January, and all of a sudden, like, what's going on here? And then finally things started rolling. It's amazing how early this year how things are moving along. There was much more news this year coming out in the truck series.
Yeah, and we mentioned Brendan Queen before. He's going to be full-time. Ruggiero, you would think he would be back. A Honeycutt, if he's with Tricon. All of a sudden you start listening to this, it's like, holy smokes, there's going to be like 14 to 16 drivers that if you told me they were going to win the championship, I'd say, yeah, there's a path there.
And then just think of like guys like Chastain and SVG coming back down, maybe run some road courses and stuff like that. So, wow, yeah, lots of talent going to be in the truck season, man. We love the truck series, man, and we'll be looking forward to that in 26.
Yes, sir. Raja Caruth will do a part-time Xfinity schedule, or our O'Reilly schedule, I should say, with Junior Motorsports next year in the 88. Chastain and SVG will drive the Junior Motorsports number 9 car next season in select races as well.
Okay, so, yep, things are starting to move over there on that side of it, too.
We mentioned William Sawalich is out. Justin Bonsignor is going to be back in the Xfinity car like he was this past weekend.
All right, so that team can finish off the season with that right there.
Mm-hmm. Harrison Burton will drive for Sam Hunt Racing in 2026, so he comes back in the Toyota family. He'll be teammates with Dean Thompson.
He was starting to get that 25 to working really good. He just got a pole this last week, so good to see Harrison Burton that's going to actually switch teams here and keep it going.
Elevated that team from what it was for sure. I think you can see the talents there. So if he lands in the same ride, Sam Hunt, maybe the next step up from AM Racing, maybe not totally there with Junior Motorsports and all that, but we'll see. They got 2 pretty good drivers there now. So we'll see what happens. But the other thing that kind of you thought about when this news dropped was, where does that put Corey Heim? That was going to be a spot where Corey Heim could line. Apparently, Corey Heim and Ty Gibbs don't get along, so Heim going to Gibbs is probably not going to happen. Not saying that it wouldn't ever, but that's the rumor out there. I don't know how true that is, but Sam Hunt was definitely the spot you kind of looked at for Corey Heim, and now that seems to not be happening. So what does he do? I mentioned maybe he goes back to the trucks with Tricon full-time, or the other thing is that maybe he does part-time in all 3 series.
Yeah, it's possible. There's a lot of question marks with that one, so we'll have to see how that comes out in the wash here in the off season.
Yeah. DGM and Ryan Ellis will part ways after Phoenix this upcoming weekend. DGM had this to say: Ryan Ellis Racing is fully aware, as this was his decision. We are already putting 26 plans into motion until we weren't. It's still a shock to us as well. So it sounds like Ryan Ellis made that decision and DGM was not expecting it there.
Oh, all right. So probably got something else waiting down the line, man. So that's why I made that announcement.
Cup teams will have they had a new left side tire for Martinsville, so I'll continue on for that. Daniel Suarez, we kind of said this earlier, Daniel Suarez will be in the number 7 Cup car for Spire in 2026.
Yeah, if you're talking about the tire for this weekend, yeah, they're going to use the same right side tires they did at Martinsville, and then they're going to use the same setup that they used at Loudon back earlier this year. So that's, hey, kudos to Goodyear, man. The tire at Martinsville, I thought, worked really well. There was some big chunks that were coming out. And it's always a concern if they get caught up in exhaust systems and start fires and everything like that. But it seemed like the fall off was right there. Joey Logano kind of explained it. He kind of like it fell off, but then it held, and it held for a while, and at the very end, it finally fell off. And I think Goodyear hit a home run with the tire setup this week at Martinsville, and let's hope they do the same thing here at Phoenix.
Yeah, totally agree. It was good to see that tire perform, and all year they have really, you talk about Bristol and all that, they have done exactly what NASCAR has asked them to, and I think a lot of times they get a bad rap for the things, but don't get the kudos that they deserve. So kudos to Goodyear, absolutely.
The technology behind that stuff, man, and how they can set up tires and everything like that—that's way out of our ballpark, man. I don't know how they do it with compounds and how they all pull that off, man. But they know what they're doing most of the time.
You almost got to be a chemist, some kind of scientist to really dive deep into that, for sure. Zane Smith signed a new multi-year deal with Front Row, so he'll also be with Front Row for the upcoming years to come.
Why not? He's been performing well, so yep, keep that going.
There was some news with the lawsuit that came out. They have not settled just yet, although they're saying that a settlement is closer than you would think after hearing the recent news. There was some other interesting news that came out to that. So financials started to become available as well, and Bob Pockrass has posted some of that. One thing that I will say is the 2025 charter agreement, which is now public. Charter teams got a base of 141,000 per event. So there is some interesting financial things posted out there because now it's public with this whole thing going on. Go look at Bob Pockrass to find out some more information, but it'll tell you revenue and all of that. There's a ton of financial stuff, which I find interesting, being a numbers guy and finance guy. So if you're interested in that, go check out Bob Pockrass and dive into that.
It all started with the judge when he denied NASCAR with a countersuit this week. And NASCAR definitely doesn't want to go to court. You ever hear of don't bite the hand that feeds you? But somehow 2311 and Front Row looks like they're slowly gonna pull this off. The way it looks right now. NASCAR is giving back the 6 charters back to those 2 teams, giving it and seeing they're talking about the reinstatement and what's ever going on with that. But I guess the big sticking point that came out this morning is that the legal fees and the court cost is $100 million do it. Not just $100 million. And now they're going to try to figure out who's going to pay for the court cost and all of that. That's just crazy. But it sure sounds like the drivers, they want the long-term security, and they want to probably be owners of these charters, and that's probably which way it's going. If this lasts any longer and they take this into December and have NASCAR open their books, because they're accusing them of being a monopoly, and a monopoly is high-tech stuff. I understood it back when I worked, and our plant ended up getting transferred, and people were shut down because you could only have 70% of the market, and otherwise you're classified as a monopoly. Big money, big plans, man. Boy, let's just hope this all gets settled and everybody's happy. But if the longer this goes, man, the worse it's going to be, man. So it seems like NASCAR sure all of a sudden wants to settle up.
Well, it would be nice to get this over with. We'll see. It was hopeful when they announced 2 or 3 weeks ago that they were heading to settlement talks. Unfortunately, it didn't end there, but I'm hoping it does. But you're talking some big bucks. NASCAR doesn't want to pay $100 million for being pulled into court for something that they thought they were fair. So I'm sure that is a sticking point for them. So. Yeah, certainly interesting. Again, we've tried to avoid it as much as possible when there was big things to announce that we understood and could figure out what it meant. We've announced it on here just like we have now. But yeah, the financials out there are interesting. Another thing I'm looking at here is kind of the payout percentage too. So that's out there. So the race purse payout for points events is out there. So for example, the winner gets 5.16% of the purse. Second gets 4.067, and then third gets 3.976, and it kind of goes down from there, and you can see that there. So that was interesting. Tells you how much is the fixed owners plan is, the amount per points event, how much that is, and how much the charter was, which we announced there. It also puts out there the year-end point fund payout. So the champion gets 8.423% of the payout percentage for that. The second place gets 7.138%, 6.853% for third, and so on. So interesting financials out there. The financials even go out for years, so it's already been determined there, so you can kind of see what that looks like. But yeah, very interesting stuff out there.
It is, man. This has been dragged on for a long time. Big money, and and Denny Hamlin sure came up with a pretty strong statement saying we're looking at surrendering and all of this, and big time, pointing fingers at NASCAR, saying that they're the bully, and how they're being bullied, and it's going back and forth, and some things you're being said that you can't take back. We need to get it settled, man, and keep it settled and keep it straight, because otherwise there's just so many other things that are involved with this whole mess, and the longer it takes on, man, it's just going to affect more of it.
Well, and you think about the drivers. Can Tyler Reddick get out of his contract if he's not a chartered driver? Because then he's not guaranteed to make every race. So can he leave his contract? Same for Bubba Wallace. So there's a lot of things at stake. You're talking about sponsorship money. If you're not going to be guaranteed every race, does the sponsorship pull back? A lot of things that we're not even thinking about involved in it. So we'll hope for the best here over the next week or two and see what happens. But
yeah, there's a ripple effect with this whole mess, man. So get it settled, man. Let's go racing, right?
yeah. And then the last bit of news I have is Daytona announced that the Daytona 500 in 2027. I know this is something that you've kind of talked about over the years, Mark, because the Super Bowl got moved back to the Sunday before President's Day, which has been the week that the Daytona 500 has been run the last few years. It is announced that the 2027 Daytona 500 will be February 21st, so that is the weekend after President's Day, which will avoid conflict with the Super Bowl. I know that we've both said this. I forget what you said regarding it, but my thoughts is, wouldn't it be awesome if it was the same day? Like if you had the Daytona 500 during the day and then it went right into the Super Bowl. The thing that would throw that off is weather, of course. Yeah, so the 500 in 2027, so not this upcoming February, the February after will be the 21st and be after President's Day.
I would still say, hey, how about the 500 on Saturday? Then the Super Bowl can always be on Sunday. But I guess NASCAR's got a way that they can shuffle the schedule. They're ending 1 week earlier this year than they normally do. So there is 1 week there. Last year we had the Olympics and they gave them a break in the middle of the summer. They didn't get that this year. I mean, they've been slugging along here for a long time with a lot. I think they've been racing every week since Easter. Is that right? I think that's true. And that's a long grind, man. So, but yeah, they yielded to the NFL. Practically every sport would practically do that. So I guess, yeah, NASCAR wants their own weekend just as much as the NFL wants theirs.
Yeah, when you and I were talking the other day and mentioning weeks, and I said, yeah, that 2 week break never happened this year. And I'm looking back. The last off day was Easter. It was the 20th of April there. So I think they have raced every week since, as far as the Cup Series goes. I'm just confirming that here. Yeah. So that is a long time to go. Now they get paid and they, that's their job. So I'm not trying to, put them on the spot or say that they can't handle it because they know what they sign up for. But yeah, they've been going for a long time. So we'll see what that brings too. If you're moving back a week, now all of a sudden is it going to be pushed out further and further, or doesn't that off week go away too? I don't know. But we'll worry about that when we need to for 2027.
Yeah, that's 27 down the line. So yeah, that's crazy, man. But yeah, we saw it. We heard rumors that NASCAR was going to yield to the NFL, and that's just exactly what's going to happen.
I'm going to talk about some short track events here. Do you have anything to talk about as far as news goes before we talk about short track racing?
You missed one that was out today that Marco Andretti is actually
Oh, yeah.
retiring.
Yep.
Yep. So I saw that came out. He was with that team 20 years. Hey, we knuckle bumped him in Milwaukee when we saw him down there. So he was running. He was running in the truck series, so that was good to see him. So Marco Andretti getting out after 20 years with that team.
So close to winning an Indy 500. Just a few 100 feet away from taking that Indy 500. Never happened. He was the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year. Great racer. You saw him in SRX. You saw him race in NASCAR, Spire. He was with that truck team for a little bit. So a great career for Marco Andretti, and someone who will be missed in the racing scene for sure.
Absolutely. So, and hey, how about Carson Kvapil?
Yes.
Finally, that came out this morning that he's now full time. You and I were scratching our head, just like they're going to share that ride, and and here he is in the final four here. Just like there's no way that he can sit there and be um, on a part-time ride. So he was on with Dale Jr. today and announced that he's going to get a full-time ride. They're talking about like putting puzzle pieces together and working out. So congrats to Carson. That's going to actually get a full-time ride.
So what I gained from that is it might not be in the one car, because they're saying they're putting the pieces together. So I don't know if that means maybe he will be in the one car and Zilich may have to find a way to be in a different car, or if Kvapil will be switching numbers or maybe even teams that they've put together for him. You and I talked off air over the weekend last week, and I said, what if he's put in the 17 for some of those races, which is a Hendrick Motorsports Chevy, instead of being in the ones that Zilich is supposed to run. So we'll see what happens there. But good to hear that he's full time. I was so happy to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. That was a head scratcher. Just like he's going to be part time. Like that's such a downgrade. But yeah, got to get the sponsors all lined up and everything like that. So good news coming out of that camp today.
Absolutely. And I made contact with Travis. We're going to hopefully have Carson on here in the near future. I'd love to have the whole family on, really. We'll talk about one of the Quapples here coming up, but so that might be down the pipeline for us as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another thing that came out also today is that Kyle Busch and his wife, they got frauded out of $8.5 million in a life insurance kind of policy deal, and so they filed a lawsuit today. So $8.5 million for life insurance, okay, but sounded like it was kind of a risky kind of deal, and so now there's going to be a court case for the Bushes.
yeah. Yeah, unfortunate there. Hated to hear that.
Okay, and then we kind of going kind of sort of toward the short track. We see Jake Garcia. He won down at Cordell last weekend. Hey, Johnny Sauter pulled out a fourth place down there, so that was pretty cool news coming out of Georgia down there.
Yep, I was just about to talk to some of that stuff here. So let's get into it. So yeah, great thing down with Jake Garcia winning down there. He was down there earlier, I think it was in September, and got a bonus for running that race. So that paid off for him, and they pulled off. I think they won both of those races when he was down there back a little earlier this year and now. So Johnny Sauter led some of the race. Had some tire mix-ups there. It sounds like the tires didn't just agree, and maybe went wrong way on the adjustment that they made, and just didn't get it right there at the end. But he ended up finishing fourth there. So the top five at the World Crown 300 down at Cordele was Garcia, Allman, Pollard, Sauter, and Christensen. So that was a good top five there. So yeah, that seemed like a good event down there for them guys.
It does, man. So if we ever get in a winter time like this or this time of year and end up going down that way, looks like an interesting facility, man. Checked out some videos of the place and like that. So yeah, wouldn't mind going to a place like that sometime.
Yeah, they kind of start the season off down there, so that would be a cool track to get down to.
Isn't that the watermelon? Oh, that's in Alabama. Maybe.
Then continuing on here, Jace Hansen won the Cars Tour West race at Kern. It was an amazing battle with Keelan and Kevin Harvick. Jace was also the champion. Keelan Harvick made his super late model debut right there.
Yeah, and Keelan lost it on the very last lap with Dad right there, and it was an entertaining finish to that one. So the Harvicks came up short on that one.
Very, yep. Speaking of Keelan Harvick, he won the Cars Tour Pro Late Model race at North Wilkesboro. Ben Meyer was the champion for the Pro Late Models in the Cars Tour.
So we know Keelan Harvick is going to be coming through the ranks, and there'll be a Harvick up there in the big series coming up in a few years coming up.
Yep. Caden Quapple, I told you we'd be talking about a Quapple here. He won the Cars Tour race at North Wilkesboro in the Cars Tour late models. Landon Lewis was the champion there. So I talked about Landon being a champion. There it was this year. So kudos to Caden Quapple and then Landon Lewis as well.
And they're doing well with the Cars series, man. It looks pretty good. And I think they just came out with their new schedule for next year, and it's all down in that area down there. But good stuff coming out of the Cars series.
Mm-hmm. Also wanted to talk about, this was 2 weeks ago already, Mark, the Alive for 5 series and Dells Raceway Park Halloween event down there. You were down there. How about this? Tristan Swanson took the win over Casey Johnson. Johnson would be the Alive for 5 champion. Jordan Devoy and Cody King were Tundra Series champions.
What a super day, man. There was cars in the pits everywhere, 4 different series, man. I had over 100 cars down there, and it just enjoyable weather, man. It just was an awesome event, just like always down at the Dells.
Bobby Wilberg won the 602 race. Dennis Prunty would be champion of that series.
Yeah, there was no surprise there, man.
And one that we were heavily watching, Clay Kurtz won the Midwest Truck Series race. Brandon Reichenberger goes back-to-back as champion. That great battle with him and Grant Griesbach. Griesbach just couldn't overcome track position, and he had some issues there.
Yeah, he was stuck in the hurricane in the middle of the pack there and just could not get the track position to get out there. And it was unfortunate for him. So, but otherwise, congrats to Brandon Reichenberger. We sure like that family and that team, man.
Oh, yeah. And it was a fun battle to watch all year long, man. Just incredible. What a season Grant Griesbach had too, picking up multiple championships. It was a great season for him, but Brandon Reichenberger, the thing that hit me was to see him get out of the truck, and you didn't get to experience this in person last year, Mark, when he got out of the truck because the Midwest Truck Series ended at Fest last year. He got out of the truck and his team was there, but his wife Mary, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about this. His wife Mary and his son Chase weren't there to celebrate in person with him because they were down at the Cincinnati hospital and Chase was going through his challenges. And I got to interview him and talk to him after that event. And to see him get out of the truck at Dells Raceway Park as a back-to-back champion, and to have Mary and Chase there to greet him in Victory Lane and celebrate in person with him, that was pretty special. And that's hitting me even now thinking back to seeing it. Very cool for the Reichenberger family, and so happy that they got to share that moment this year.
Ain't that cool? Yeah, they were full circle right there, man. So outstanding stuff right there.
Just incredible, man. And Dells Raceway Park, kudos to them. Tundra Series had a great year. Hopefully they can get some better weather next year. I know we joke about that, but cool that they did a combined event there. The 602s are always great. Casey Johnson, a Live for 5 champion, and for Tristan Swanson to hold off Casey Johnson in that factor. I talked about this at length earlier in the year. Remember when they were coming out with the Quickie Driver Development Program, and I kept telling you that Tristan Swanson and Bryce Miller both need to be a part of the program. And no slight to anyone else or even Bryce a little bit, but Tristan had won a super late model race before down at Dells with the Tundra Series. And I thought it was very surprising that he was not a part of it and kind of disappointing there. Again, that's no slight against anyone else. Bryce, the program is wonderful, but I thought it was surprising that Tristan wasn't a part of it. And I think that win just proved himself worthy of it. And hopefully he gets an opportunity this year because it's a great program and I think he deserves to be in it.
Yep. Hopefully they'll sign up the application, man, and try to run it in 2026. Probably could be a finalist then.
The other thing with Tristan Swanson is what a week he had because he won last weekend at Dells Raceway Park, and then the following weekend he gets married to Lauren Fredrickson, Dan Fredrickson's daughter. So what a week to win a big event like that, and then have one of the best moments of your life just after that as well.
Imagine that. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. I got on a good roll there.
Yep. Congratulations to Tristan and Lauren as well. All right, Mark. I think we just need to make picks one last time here and talk about the TV schedule before we get out of here. So let's go ahead and do that. So starting with the Truck Series, the defending winner at Phoenix is Ty Majeski, where he won and took the championship. Who do you got, buddy?
Hey, man, I'm going to take Majeski. How does that sound? If he's hooked up like last year, man, and like I say, man, it's the last Ford standing out of all the last championships in all three series. So I'm a Ford man. I'm going to stick with that and try to see if Majeski can get two in a row.
I really do want to. I really wanted to take Ty, but I had to go with Corey Heim. I had him left for one more week, so I'm going to take Corey Heim to finish off that season.
That's the only driver you took 3 times in the Truck Series. So congratulations on at least getting one driver. That is true. It's the only driver you only took 3 times. Everybody else in the Truck Series is available to you.
I did take Lang Riggs 3 times as well.
Oh, I didn't catch that because I thought you only had him twice. But anyway, still, it was good. Good Truck Series, good race. And dang well that Majeski and Heim are going to be the ones that are going to battle for this championship.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun weekend, I tell you what. We'll see what happens. By the way, you and I might be live Friday and might be live Saturday for a watch along. So I'll post some stuff about that. We'll see what happens here.
Those are fun. Those are a lot of fun, And
we haven't done one in a while. And I messaged you and I was like, we should do it. We should try to do it.
And get some race fans involved, man, and we'll find out. And we can chat and talk racing while there's a race on. So championship race is on.
Championship, you bet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. I kind of screwed up there because I should have picked first in the Truck Series, which we did. We did it right, but I had you say it first on here, so sorry about that. But Xfinity Series going into Phoenix, Riley Herbst was the defending winner. Remember, he got by Justin Allgaier in the last corner, which actually cost me a free steak dinner. Because if Justin Allgaier wins that race, I don't have to deal with the tiebreaker, which you won, which it doesn't sit in my craw much, does it? Clearly.
That prime rib sure did, though.
Yeah. So Riley Herbst is the defending winner there. Who do you got?
Hey, man, I want to break somebody's bad luck. It finishes second how many times? 16 times. And we know how much Creed can get around there, man. Do the 00 Ford and see if he can pull it off and finally get a victory in the Xfinity Series.
There you go. I am going to take Jesse Love. He's the only championship Ford driver that I could have selected here, so I'm going to go with Jesse Love to win it here.
Wouldn't that be something if he could pull that off? We definitely know. We definitely know that Village and Allgaier, them two are going to give her all they got, but the other two are just as good too with Love and then one car also with Quapple. So it'll be exciting, and we'll be able to watch that Saturday night on the CW.
Yes, we will. For the Cup Series, then, Joey Logano is the defending winner of the race. You actually get to go first in this one as well.
Yeah, Joey Logano, and how much of a
Penske.
Penske, how much of a Penske racetrack that is. And there ain't no Fords in there. Don't be surprised, as you will see a few of them up front. Hey, man, I'm gonna take. I actually told you the other day. Kind of seems like a more of a dark horse, but you got right and says no way. He's probably one of the favorites and anything like that. Hey, man, how about Chase Briscoe? Wouldn't that be a popular win if he could pull that off? Definitely know he's got the speed and probably can get the pole there. We've seen him run good there, and that'll be my final pick there for the Cup Series.
And that is your second time using Briscoe. Yeah, you when we were doing this off air and you said Chase Briscoe, dark horse, I said no. He is a winner out at Phoenix. He runs really well there. He did wreck in the spring this year, but not a dark horse in my book anyway. I am gonna go with Ryan Blaney. I know he's not in the championship four, but you just talked about it. It's been a Penske track for the last few years. I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney to get it done.
Nothing wrong with that pick, man. That's for sure. So, think about these Phoenix races, man. All of them, they're short races. They're shorter than normal. That truck race is 150 laps, man. Just like, I mean, that goes awfully fast, and and then the Xfinity is only 200 laps, man. And these races are short and quick, man. You got to get up on the wheel and be aggressive here.
Definitely have to. Here's the TV schedule then for Phoenix. This will be in Central Time. On Thursday, 6:35 is truck practice. Friday at 1 o'clock is ARCA West practice and qualifying. Remember, they'll be crowning a champion out there with the ARCA West series, so they still got a race left here at Phoenix. 2:35 on FS2 is truck qualifying. 3:35 on CW app is Xfinity practice. 4:35 on True TV is Cup practice, and 6:30 on FS1 is the Truck Series race. Stages of 45, 45, and 60 with 5 sets of tires. Saturday on Flow Racing is the ARCA West 100. 2:30 then on the CW app is Xfinity qualifying. 4 o'clock on True TV is Cup qualifying. 5:30 on the CW is pre-race, and 6:30 the Xfinity race will get going on the CW. Stages of 45, 45, and 110 with 5 sets of tires. And then Sunday on NBC, 1 o'clock is pre-race. 2 o'clock, the Cup Series gets going. Stages of 60, 125, and 127 with 8 sets of tires. Tell you what, Mark, it's hard to believe that we're at the end of the season already for NASCAR.
That's how it goes, man. It starts rolling downhill, and and before you know it, it's gone. So, unfortunate there, man.
Yeah, it is very bittersweet
Well,
here, but
we need a break too, though. It is a
yeah,
long season. It
it
is a
is.
long season. It lasts longer than baseball, and it's crazy how long the season can be. But boy, it all wraps up real fast, and we'll take a little break and take a breather, and pretty soon 2026 will be here before you know it.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you, Tim, Ben, and Carrie for all that you do for us in the community. Again, it's truly remarkable. Thank you, Mark, for always joining me on these. Thanks everyone for your support. It means the world to us. Again, we may go live Friday, more likely Saturday for a watch along here. So come join, watch some racing with us, and talk some racing. It's always a good time there. So looking forward to doing that. But hey, man, appreciate you. And hey, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, pay attention to Nashville this weekend. The Nashville 400 is going on this weekend, so you'll be able to catch that probably on Flow, maybe, right? For sure. Also, Delza has announced, get your calendar out and circle this. April 12th is the icebreaker. So April 12th, they were zeroing in on that date. I saw Norway put their schedule out, a tentative schedule. It looks like the Midwest Tour is going to be there once again on Father's Day weekend. Remember how hot that one was? Not only the weather, but the racing just as hot also. And Slinger is going to be 1 week later than normal. That's on July 14th on a Tuesday. So I love watching racetracks and bringing out their schedules, man. So paying attention to that, that's what gets me all excited on the off season. So, hey, thank you too, man. Thanks. Appreciate what you all do for sure, man. So it doesn't go unnoticed. And so, all right, man, we'll see you down the line, huh?
I got one correction for you. Nashville All-American 400 is next weekend, so pay attention to that. So next weekend, November 7th through the 9th.
You are right. Yes, the 7th through the 9th. Good correction. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, you bet, buddy. Yep. Appreciate everyone, and yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
See ya.
This has been a production of Lore Sports. Hope you all enjoyed it, and thank you for listening.